Dzadzang. Only in South Africa would we be sitting in a commission or parliamentary session whereby parliamentarians have relocated themselves from Cape Town to Johannesburg in order to interview a criminal in an attempt to get to the bottom of the story. I still ask myself, even right now, when we were interviewing Brown Mokoti, I said, why is our government interviewing, questioning a scammer? And today I had to ask myself the question, Ori, why is the government questioning a criminal? Anyways, so we are questioning criminals, right? But when you question criminals, things come out that show what kind of a country we live in. Personally, I don't think Kat Matlala thinks that he's a criminal. I just got that sense from the guy today, from his answers, from the way he was speaking, that this is somebody who has grown up in a South Africa that celebrates wealth and not hard work. And what happens when you celebrate wealth and people that are moneyed are the people that are clever? Because we do have that in our culture, guys. And stop pretending you don't. When there's a funeral at home, who becomes Ndlunkulu even if they are 25? It's the breadwinner. So, psychologically speaking, South Africa has gone through this very weird way of thinking about life because of money, because of capital, because of money. That now we even forget our culture, we forget heritage, we forget the elders, we forget, we forget knowledge. No, if you've got money, you are the one that's clever. So Kat Matlala really doesn't believe he's window dressing. He's like, no. If you heard him today, and he is window dressing. He absolutely is fronting. He's fronting. Guys, he even went so far as to make an example with a franchise of KFC when explaining why he's not fronting his medical business. South Africa. So for me today, I just got a nice way of seeing Guti. Kat Matlala generally doesn't think that he's a criminal. Kat Matlala was a businessman who managed to get a tender, and that tender was something that was a tender that was Metropolitan's tender, which is that thing that people talk about, white monopoly capital. Yes, white monopoly capital was paying the Jojo. That's when I'm like, private business and government in South Africa are all mutually corrupt. Because the culture of corruption came from the private business, the private sector created the culture. Now this new black-owned business comes in, not black-owned business, but black-face business, like it was portrayed black. It comes into the picture, and the officials that are usually used to getting the corruption money are like, no, but now you have to pay us because the old contractor used to pay us and now we need our money. And for those of you who don't know about government and how they actually control people that get tenders and how they make sure that they get their money, you cannot always trace it to a paper trail, because you can get a tender and then when you're coming to build the building, you are not let in to paint the building because you haven't paid the person that's supposed to get the kickback. And then because you haven't painted the building, when somebody comes to check out the painting of the building, you haven't delivered, but you were not given access to deliver. Corruption is so deep. For me, I always say to people, that's why I love the truth, because there's no substitute for the truth. India resaid it. There ain't no substitute for the truth. Either it is or it isn't. You see, the truth that needs no proof. Either it is or it isn't. And you know the truth by the way it feels. And today, and Brown Mokoti, it all felt very, very unfamiliar and corrupt. looking at Kat Matlala, we realize that he genuinely thinks he's a business person. And who are we to blame him? Because all the pictures he's seen is of people getting paid for being in positions of power. We've not ever had an example of somebody who has achieved so much because of something they built. Can we look at millionaires? And I'm not talking about artists, guys, because with artists it's easy to see, yeah, you worked with so-and-so, release this music, and sometimes it's not so easy to see because there's so much corruption. But can we talk about the superhero business person that we know, and then we can see a track record as South Africans? Business people that are celebrated for what they are contributing to society, for what they are contributing in J to business. I want that example, because we have a lot of examples of people making money from being well positioned. And when that's the only example, what do you expect? Kat Matlala doesn't think he broke any laws at all. Then in closing, when it comes to Brian Mokgotsi, guys, Brian Mokgotsi is a scammer. Having fallen victim to scammers myself over the years, I can tell you he's a scammer. He's a scammer. He's a scammer. And what I know now of scammers is that don't listen to a thing that they say. Don't listen to a thing that a scammer says, because everything that comes out of their mouth is a way to open a door to a scam. And they're just hoping that you're going to fall for something. Brian Mokgotsi is the biggest scammer, and what we heard from Kat Matlala's testimony today is that Brian Mokgotsi saw an opportunity. He saw that everybody's trying to eat this 300 and what million of this tender. He saw this. He said, everybody's trying to get a piece of this tender. This tender is driving everybody mad. And hold up. The guy in the center of this tender is a one-man show. And he's actually fronting for these Afrikaners. Oh, I can make him think that I am so like a scammer. Like a scammer. Tomorrow we are going to tune in again to watch a criminal testify and guide us in how, at the bottom line is that the police are corrupt. The bottom line is that the police are corrupt, and the bottom line is that South Africa has a culture of corruption. And if we thought that corruption will start and end at the stealing of petty things or at the fraud of home affairs, once there's corruption, there's corruption. Once there's a lie, there's a lie. And the problem with corruption, the problem with lies, is that you cannot tell them, you cannot tell them heads or tails. You can't. Once it's lies, then you don't know what it is. You don't even know what isn't true. You don't even... If the government has if they feel like they're going to get to the bottom of this corruption, they will never. They won't. They won't.